crazy. I wanted to talk a little bit about your studio and, home studios are becoming, they are the norm nowadays. Every producer has to have their own home studio, whether it's in a garage, whether it's inside their bedroom, whatever. But I wanted you to kind of go into the creation of your studio and, not get too stressed out about it, but a couple of the things you maybe piece of advice that you learn from it that you're like, hey, if you were building a studio, these are some things that I learned from that I would do differently, or things like that.
I think the first thing, maybe the most successful part of the room so far, is that it feels open, lots of natural light, and that it doesn't feel pretentious and intimidating. And that I think a lot of people's spaces, I don't think they're intentionally doing that,
Right.
but I think they feel like that
Right.
to somebody coming in to sit on the couch and write with you. So I really think that they're like, if you've got, 50 plaques on the wall
Right.
in your lobby before you even walk in or something
Right.
like that. I know that you're proud of your work and you want to show that, and I get that. But the effect that has sometimes on your collaborators is people tense up and they tighten up.
Right.
And they
You
don't.
might be a little intimidated by that.
It is.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's subconscious
Right.
and I don't know. I remember feeling that and being like, well, I don't want to feel that.
Right.
Like I don't want to do that. I want skylights. I want windows. I
Right.
want things like that. I came from basement studios, hermetically sealed
Right.
spaces that were very functional,
Right.
but with my current taste, they're pretty anti-vibe,
Right.
And bedroom studios out here too, and basically everybody has the equipment, the gear, the things they need, whatever to
at the end
workflow.
of the day, you need a good mic, a good preamp, and an interface. Like, that's really all you need to do the thing nowadays. Having all the other stuff is makes it fun, and you can, if you really want to go deep dive into sounds of a record. I know we both love that process.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the most important part, and that's what I think comes to people later, because it's harder to surround yourself with things that let you do that.
Right.
But in the beginning, just creating a space that is comfortable and conducive to people's creativity is huge, 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 huge. Can they move around? Can they, do they have a seat they can sit in that isn't, the edge of your bed,
Right.
or something? Which, don't get me wrong, there's tons of people out there that are in their bedroom, like you said,
Yeah.
they got to sit on the end of the bed.
Right.
But eventually, you will graduate to a space in which that is not the case. And as you graduate and you begin to create your own space, these are the things you got to think about.
Yeah.
Is thinking about where do you want the focus in the room. That's something I learned, actually.
Right.
I was already in the process of building my space when I had a session at Shangri-La that was a terrible session. It was horrible. It was a nightmare. We did not even get a song, but I ended up staying for a while and talking to their engineer there.
Right. Just to learn.
And I'm like, hey,
What's going on here?
what? I wanted to pick his brain about
Right.
goddamn everything. And one of the things that he told me about that studio space that I was in was that the room was designed, because I was kind of amazed that the couches were shit, terrible. They had stains all over them. They were just kind of gross and they didn't give a shit about. And then in the center of this room were these stacks of gear, monolithic towers, 6 feet tall on the tabletop of gear stacked up, not in racks, on top of itself.
Oh, wow.
On either side of the desk going up. It was beautiful to me. But, the guy was like, oh, the room is designed so all the attention, all the creativity is forward. That's why we don't have nice things all over the place. We're not trying to distract you with nice things around the room. Everything is that way.
Right, you're looking that way and you want to be inspired that way.
And I just had not really thought about that in a room, about how that would do it. Obviously, they are doing this with insane museum pieces of gear that are just out exposed in the world, and they're on a different level of resources and a different level of everything. So, but that ethos stuck with me going forward, where it was ooh, I want to have zones. I want to have places for people to go. I want to direct their energy into particular places in the room. So if you're starting spaces like that, I think that's a really big thing to think about.
Yeah.
And also just keep in mind that even though you're at the desk, you got all the toys, you got all the knobs, you got everything, your collaborators do not. They're on a couch. It's do you have magazines around for them? Do you have weird puzzle things or something for them to touch, for them to fiddle around with? Anything to invite them